More and more people are tapping into social media, from LinkedIn to Facebook. The number of users networking around the world is staggering, and recruiters are using it as well to weed out potential candidates and find potential candidates. Even if you are not looking for a job, is Big Brother watching your every tweet and your every move on Facebook. For more on this, we're joined by Mark Nelson. He's a partner at Funnel Research Group, an executive search firm here in Toronto. Mark, great to have you here this morning.
Thank you, Tony.
Okay, so talk to us about how firms, how people looking to hire are tapping into social networks.
Well, there's a couple of ways. First of all, for active candidates who are looking for jobs, companies will use a Facebook, a Twitter. They'll try to develop an employment brand. But also, more interestingly perhaps, sites like LinkedIn or specialty sites are used to try and find passive candidates, people who aren't necessarily looking for a role, but who have an online profile and have information that we can look at.
So how do they do that?
Well, really, it's the candidates that are helping us. I mean, they're putting on profiles that have a lot more information than traditionally we would have had access to. I mean, we've always been looking for passive candidates and turning over rocks and making calls. But now we can actually do very specialized searches on things like designations or on even personal interests. And that means we can be a lot more specific.
Do candidates know they're being searched? I mean, when people go through your profile on LinkedIn, for example, where people tend to post a pretty extensive profile, do you know who has looked at your profile?
You can see who's looked at your profile. Usually it'd be anonymous. It depends a lot on what people buy. If I look at your profile, you'll see it because of what I purchased. But yes.
Right. Now, what are the other? What's the benefit, both for candidates and for companies, of using LinkedIn and of using Facebook?
Well, certainly it's about access. Both sides now, companies and job seekers or just candidates, now have a lot more access so that they can actually have a better understanding of what they're getting into. So companies are investing a lot in saying, here's our employment brand, here's what it's like to work for us. You may not have applied yet, but learn about us, engage with us. For candidates, it's about, if I have the dream job for you, it should be easy for me to find you. That's in your interests.
Right. Talk to us about some of the techniques that you use. I mean, we all know sort of what traditional search is.
Right.
What are some of the things that you're using that connect with some of these new media technologies?
Well, I'll start with LinkedIn. That's probably the most pervasive site right now. You can search by title and company. That's your basics. Probably top performers will do a lot more with certain keywords. There are places where certain skill sets aggregate. Oftentimes it's associations, it's designations. We'll search by those. We have clients that look for things that say, show me someone with excellence, Iron Men. Show me people who've been gold medalists at just about any event. And so you end up actually being really specific, tailoring things to each need.
Do you ever have companies that may push back and say, we're getting overwhelmed with resumes, or because of the fact that people can use these social media tools? I know that one time, there were a number of times when I was in management once upon a time, and I used to use online job boards. I was overwhelmed with responses. I found it actually didn't work.
It's a great question. It's sort of a market of mixed messages right now. Companies are overwhelmed by applicants, but they're also having real trouble finding the right people. I think the reason is companies right now are looking for known commodities, for existing skill sets. In this market, there's probably less investment in training programs and development programs, and so there's people that are very hard to find they need help with. But by the same token, they are managing a major flow of candidates. If they manage that well, and there are technologies to help them do that, they can still find the right people very quickly, and it's certainly worth the effort.
Have you ever had situations where someone has a profile online, they've got all their information there, and a firm gets in touch with them, your firm or someone else gets in touch with them and says, hey, we want to make you a job offer, and they say, wait a minute, why are you, go away, stop calling me, this is an invasion of privacy?
It's very rare, probably less than 1 in 100. It does happen. For sites like LinkedIn, you can actually identify how you'd like your profile to be used, and job opportunities is one of the options.
Now, are there any lessons for job seekers, maybe some negative lessons about things you might not want to put online, given that everyone can see kind of everything?
Absolutely, and I think people are generally fairly good with professional sites, but I think they tend to forget how broad the audience is and how we can scrutinize retroactively with more public sites. People choose to put their public profile on Facebook. They should know the consequences, as well as sites like Twitter. I think the mistake people most often make is perhaps having inconsistent information. If you're telling me one thing, but I can find an online profile that says another, we have a problem right from the start. People sometimes, they say things online when they're upset, and that can be a really bad decision.
Have you seen situations where a firm was interested in hiring a particular candidate, and as they dug more deeply into their social media profile, they realized, you know what, there's a problem here, back off?
Absolutely, yeah.
And what would be just an example of the sort of mistake that candidate or the distortion, exaggeration, whatever it is that candidate would have made?
Now, I'm dealing generally with more senior candidates, so
Right.
I'm not talking about Facebook photos of people doing things illegal and giving a thumbs up to the camera. But inconsistent...
Though that can happen too.
It can happen, yes,
Yeah.
and so I'm told. Inconsistent information is common, and that really does cause a problem.
And what would that be? That's sort of their history, their resume, basically?
Yes, some people have actually put in several profiles on LinkedIn thinking it's a free site, what do I have to lose? And they're forgetting that they have to lose it. We can actually look around and see those profiles.
Fascinating stuff. Mark, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Thanks a lot, Tony.
That was Mark Nelson. He's a partner at Funnel Research Group here in Toronto.